I want to talk to you today about the first page of your guided reading packet. This is actually a shared reading part because we're talking about the Lewis and Clark story that we read this week for shared reading. And it's kind of a comprehension activity. So, if you want to follow along with me this is page 349, it's the very first page in this packet. It says, Lewis and Clark create a museum map. Museums often use maps to help visitors better understand a time and place in history. These maps show brief summaries or the main idea of what happened at each location. That's kind of a hint as to what we're going to do today. For each location in the story of Lewis and Clark, write two important details that support the main idea of the paragraph. Let's do the first one together, and then I'll just have you do the last three, okay? The first one is called Great Falls. It says, read the second paragraph on page 755. Now I have that right here. You guys are going to have to click on the other link of the book that I've attached for you to find the page. I have my physical manual here, but let me read that part to you. And we're going to see first what the main idea of the paragraph is. Sorry, my lighting is so bad right here. What the main idea of the paragraph is, and then we're going to find two details that support that. Okay, so you listen carefully and see if you can pick out those three things. The main idea and then the other two details that support it. And there might be more details, but we're just going to pick two. The second paragraph says, before they could cross the Rockies, the Corps of Discovery faced the Great Falls of the Missouri River in present-day Montana. Here the river tumbled down a bluff that was as high as a modern 6-story building. The roar of the water was deafening. Lewis called it the grandest sight I ever beheld. But the waterfall meant that the explorers had to carry their boats and supplies up steep cliffs before they could set out again on quieter waters upstream. Traveling around the falls took the party 24 days and left everyone exhausted. Think about that for a minute. What is the main idea of that paragraph? I believe that the main idea is that the Corps of Discovery faced the Great Falls of the Missouri River. Those were huge waterfalls, right? And so that's the main idea, that they faced these huge waterfalls. Now, two details that support that main idea. Well, maybe I could also say that this was a big trial for them. This was a big deal. Facing these huge falls was a really big issue for them. Okay, so here's a couple, that's what I say was the main idea. So here's a couple of details that support that. One, they were as high as a 6-story building. That's really high. That's one detail. Another detail was that they had to carry their boats and supplies up steep cliffs before they could set out again. So they had to carry those up really high. Another detail is that it took, to get around the falls, it took 24 days and left everyone exhausted. Another detail that we could say about that is what Lewis said. He said it was the grandest sight he ever beheld. And in my opinion this day, I would say grand would mean in scale. It was huge. And I'm sure it was a really cool thing to see too. But those are all details that support that this was a really big, these falls were huge, and it was a really big deal for them to get around these falls. So I would just pick the two that I liked best and put that down. So that's what I want you to do on the others. You've got Camewates Village, Camewates Village, Clearwater Valley, and the mouth of the Columbia River. It tells you which paragraph you're looking in, and it tells you which page. So that's what you need to do, is finish those 3. You can write the answers that we talked about for the first one. Pick the 2 details that you liked the best. You can write that on there. And then I want you to find 2 details for each of the others. Okay? You got this. Do a great job, and we will talk about them a little bit later.